So let us begin. First off, we're going to want to store our process or our model in a project. So our project is simply going to be called order approval. Now each project can have many processes or models. The default will be called order approval. And you'll notice that our screen now has a canvas to draw in. It has some tasks that we can perform, so draw shapes, connect shapes, and we've got a general properties tab. So what are we going to build? We're going to build a simple order approval process. We'll start with an order submission, we'll then determine the credit for the customer, we'll then have finance approve that credit check, we'll then have sales approve the order, and then we'll have a process order. If the finance check fails, then we'll send the people a letter of rejection. So let's begin. I want to break my model into several sections to visually identify who's responsible for each action. We do this with swim lanes. So our first swim lane is going to be finance. And finance will have a tan background. And we'll add a performer. In this case we don't have a suitable one, so we're going to simply say any activity that comes into this swim lane is going to be for user finance. Now we said that sales had a role in approving and processing the order, so we now grab a second swim lane. We'll simply call that sales. We'll create a performer called sales. And we'll give it a yellow background. And the third one is system performers. So our system performers are where we use an adapter to call OpenEdge or a database, or we have stop or start actions. And we're going to give that a turquoise colouring. Now I'm going to just expand system because I know we've got a few steps in there, a few activities. So now we're ready to start. So we're going to grab our start. Every model has a start and an end. So how about we grab our end as well? We'll put our end in here. The next item we said we were going to do was a system process where we're going to call an OpenEdge program, and we grab that from our adapters section. The next part was have an activity by finance, grab the finance user, or because we've already got the swim lanes, we can simply draw shapes and grab the activity and put that in there. And we'll call that approve credit. Next step is we need a decision. Was that credit approved or not? If it's approved, then we want our activity review order from our sales team. We need another decision whether that was acceptable, and then we need a further activity for process the order. So what are we missing? We're missing a rejection email, so we're coming to assign participants. We're looking at adapters again, but this time we want an email adapter. There's our email adapter. It's going to be a system send rejection. And I think we have all our components. Next we're going to join them up. So connecting the shapes, connecting the dots. So we go from our start to our adapter. From our adapter we pass the information to our credit checker. Our credit checker will then do yay or nay. If it's a nay, we want it to go to send rejection. If the yay, we want it to go to review order. We can come to here and change that name to credit approved. this one can be credit denied. Come to our review order. It's going to again approve or not, and if it is approved, it's going to go to there, in which case it's going to be order approved. If it's not approved, then we're also going to come down to our end, and if we have a send rejection, it's also going to come here. And there we have a diagram. And visually it's very powerful. We can see we've called an OE adapter, we've got a credit approved step for a human, then got a decision. Decision says it's denied, goes here, ends. If it's approved, we go to review order. Again, if the order is rejected, it goes to end. Now, that might be the process now, but we might want to be a bit more friendly to our customers. So what we actually want to do, instead of doing rejected order that way, we could say, well, it's going to come into send rejection, and then on to the finish. So now that I have my model, what can I do with it? Well, I can share it in any number of forms. I click on the export. See on the right hand side, I can create a single JPEG image of it, email that. I can save it as a web page. I can save it as an SVG image. I can save it as an XPDL file, export that to my colleagues, and they can import it into their process modeler or into their business process modeling tool in Progress Developer Studio for OpenEdge. I can save it as a Microsoft project file. I can save it as a process summary. Process summary is going to have the diagram, but it's also going to have any parameters or timings or properties that are associated with any of these elements. I'm not going to export it at the moment. I could run a simulation against this model by creating a simulation project, and that would give me an idea of where my costs lay. For instance, I have 3 steps here which are human interaction: the approved credit, the review order, and the process order. Now I could review that and say, well, what if I didn't have a review order? What if the finance person, having approved the credit level, that was good enough to process the order? That would certainly save me some money. So my sales manager wouldn't be reviewing the order, but it certainly could cost me money if they believed that the order was giving away too much in free parts or whatever, or there was too large a discount, or an opportunity to upsell had been missed. So there's another way we could have created this model, and I'll go into that now. Now let's consider another scenario. This one, you're trying to capture somebody's knowledge really quickly, and whilst dragging elements onto screens is relatively quick, during meetings with customers or just with your own colleagues, it may be that a bullet point list is far quicker to create, but a bullet point list won't give you the connections and the decisions. But what we do have is the ability to come down and look at this in an overview format. Okay, so in the overview format, we see we have a start, we have a determined credit, we have approved credit, we have a decision, we have a review order, we have a following decision, we have an end, we have the process order, and we have send rejection. And we have the successors. So from our start, we go to determined credit. From determined credit, we go to approved credit. This is a very powerful way to very quickly model, bringing you the benefits of modeling without having to do the drag and drop stage. So let's go and recreate this order approval just using a tabular form. On a new process or model, and this is going to be called order approval 2. The project name is order approval. But this time, instead of working on our diagram, we're going to go to our overview and work in a tabular fashion. So every process starts with the start. Then we're going to have the activity, which is our managed adapter for getting the credit status, determine credit. And you'll notice that it's put determine credit is now the successor of start. Our third activity is going to be a human activity, so performer, and we didn't define any, so we'll just leave it as creator. The activity name is going to be approve credit, and the next step to approve credit is going to be a decision. That decision is credit approved. Next step is going to be reject email, or it's going to be review order. I think we'll do review order. Review order will then have a decision as well. That's going to be order approved. And then if we have our order approved, our next item will be activity, it will be process order, and then we'll have an end. But we've got some gaps. What have we got? We've forgotten that if the credit is not approved, then we're going to have a reject email. So we want managed adapter for email, and we want that successor for reject email, we want that to be end, which is activity 8. And we need another successor to approve order. For approve orders, we also need an end. Yes, either the order is, that's the wrong one. It's actually order approved test goes to end, or it goes to process order. And see, that was very quick. We captured key information. If we had the performers in there, we could have put those in, we could have set priorities, we could have set durations. But what does that mean? Well, I've got my tabular form. When I swap back to my diagram is going to be present. So let's click on the diagram and see what diagram has automatically been created for us. And you'll notice it has all the right elements: a determine credit, to approve credit, to a decision, to review order, decision on order approved, to process order then goes to end. But we seem to be missing a step here. We don't have a credit approved to reject email. We'll quickly fix that. So approve credit goes to credit approved decision goes to review order, and it also goes to reject email. Let's go back and see what our diagram has now. It now has a connector. You'll notice that it's taken the simplest path for all its connections. We could spend a couple of minutes quickly rearranging this, but the important part is that we were able to actually see visually that we had a misstep in our process. I think you'll agree that the speed with which you can actually build the basis of your model. Using the tabular entry is very powerful and very quick, a very useful tool. We're trying to capture knowledge either from internally in your organisation or perhaps with a customer. And if we were to rearrange our diagram, it could look much more presentable very quickly. I'll just touch on another item here called the path analysis. The path analysis is like a Gantt chart on a project. Path analysis shows you that depending on the path you take, here's the relative timelines. For instance, if you had a credit that failed, so we failed the approval credit process, after 4 hours somebody would be getting an email. If we were to process the order, it would take approximately 6 hours. With OpenEdge Business Process Modeler, we've been able to quickly model a business process through several means, from the drag and drop, using gestures, to using the overview form, where you're simply taking notes as if you're in a meeting. And we noted that there are other ways to create the process. You could use a Microsoft project, for instance, or import the process from another designer. And having got that process, you can then run simulations on it, potentially see where there could be a business advantage in changing something from an automated process to a manual process, or vice versa. You could export it and automate it such that it becomes your actual business process, and then you can get metrics off the actual business process and improve the business. Thank you for your time.